Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, well, I'm dreadfully sorry, but I thought I might suggest myself to do a teensy little change of plans. But this one is not the continuation of learning steam railway history with Foxy. This is a story episode, you know. This is a story episode most certainly. But the continuation of learning steam railway history with Foxy will either be in episode 83 or 84 or episode 84. And in this episode, this is a fictional episode I ended up having a daydream of in recent days. And the daydream was so amusing. I just couldn't help but I really could not help but want to turn this into a story in the next Inspirational Chats episode. It was just so enchanting, so enthralling. I just could not resist the idea of turning this into an Inspirational Chat story. And yes, may we begin, shall we? It would be Foxy, David and Tommy's Hastings, Sprat and Winkle, HCVS run adventurous day out, that is. You know. It was October of either 2024 or October 2025. Well, let's pretend this is October 2024. In October 2024, as we all knew it, it was the very day of the Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS run event of 2024. Obviously, that very morning, that very Sunday morning of the very event, I got out of bed, cleaned my teeth, had a porridge breakfast. Once I had my porridge breakfast, I got out of bed, cooked up my porridge breakfast, fed the cats their breakfast, that's Daphne and Nixie, of course. Obviously opened the garden door so that... oh, bottom. Oh dear, I'm sorry everybody. I'll wash them once the video's done. Dear oh dear, and I didn't even take a tissue with me. I didn't even know I was going to sneeze. Or should have gotten a handkerchief with me so I could have been ready for it. Oh dear. I'm so sorry about that everybody. Sorry, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? Yes. Got out of bed, cooked up my porridge breakfast, fed the cats their breakfast, opened the garden door. Yes, fast forward. I was just fast forwarding to make sure I was accurate with where I was. Okay, and once that's done, got in the shower, got cleaned up and washed and things like that. Conditioned my hair, combed it up, got dressed, put on my shoes, and put on my coat and hat. And then left the house for Hove Railway Station and bought not a return ticket but a one-way ticket to Hastings, because the plan was to, on the way back, to get a one-way ticket to Eastbourne Railway Station and then get on the bus with David from Eastbourne, where David would get out where he'd need to get out and I would carry on into the Brighton and Hove region by bus. On the way back, that is. And so once that's done, obviously to the station, got the ticket, went to the platform, got on the train from Hove Railway Station to Brighton. But whilst I was on the train, I was excited, and I sat next opposite someone, and I was telling them how excited about the day was after the person said, "You look terribly excited." I was like, "Oh yes, I am terribly excited," I said to the person who kindly inquired, not painfully inquired, over my excited look on my face. I said, I am excited. I'm meeting up with my best friend David Scott and my good friend Tommy Gardiner. We're all going to the Hastings, Sprat and Winkle HCVS run event. Oh, well, I hope your event is exciting and goes well, said the person who was sat opposite me. Thank you very much, I said to the person sat opposite me in response. I'm looking forward to it in every single way possible, and I can hardly wait for the day to begin. Before long, the train arrived at Brighton. I got out and said goodbye to the passenger who was curious, but at the same time quite friendly, and walked over to the platform to get the direct Hastings train. I boarded the direct Hastings train, and there it stopped at all the stations it needed to stop at. Obviously went via Hampden Park and Eastbourne, as is the general case for the Brighton to... Generally it's Brighton to Orr service, but obviously it does stop at Hastings, the Orr service, but ends up terminating at Orr Railway Station. And so, before long, after a reasonably long trip, or long journeys, the train arrived at Hastings. I got out at Hastings, got my camera ready to shoot the train for when it was about to depart Hastings. Before long, all the doors were shut, the yellow hazard lights were extinguished, the conductor could give the bell signal to the driver, and once that's all done, the train left Hastings Railway Station en route to Orr, its final destination spot. And I shot a video of the train leaving Hastings Railway Station. And before long, once that was done, I walked the way out, put my ticket through the ticket barrier, and then walked my way to the Hastings Rock'n'Roll, the Stade, which was where the event was being held. When walking, I walked my way to the Stade, and then I came over it. And then I arrived at the Stade to see all the historic commercials parked up and lined up at the Hastings the Stade Rock'n'Roll. And there David was already waiting for me. "Hello, matey, hello, Foxy," David said as we shook hands and greeted each other. "Hello, David," I said. "It's certainly an elated delight seeing you as always, my good best friend." He said, "Oh, Foxy, I've got a surprise for you," David said. "Oh, yes, is it? I think I know what it is," I said in excitement. The excitement was something I knew already. There, walking towards me, was a tall man of a 6'2" height, alongside large size 13 shoe size, wearing really large size 13 brogues, I would imagine, and reasonably smart trousers, although I don't know if Tommy Gardiner dresses like that, I don't know. And obviously wearing a fleece and a shirt, but no scarf and no gloves, and there he came up and said, "Oh, hello, Foxy," he said. "It's me, Tommy Gardiner," he said. I was like, "Hello, Tommy," I said, and then I shook hands with him. I was so elated and excited to have met Tommy Gardiner that very day. It's been a great while since we'd met, you know, because I first heard from you back in 2022, and here we are, we're meeting up at Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS run event 2024. "Oh, yes," Tommy said. "Normally I'm a fairground organ enthusiast, as David once concluded, but, you know, I've got other interests too, Foxy and David." Yeah, no, I don't go against what you said," David said. "I did come under the hunched conclusion that you were a fairground organ enthusiast, but yeah, no, it's fascinating seeing you have an interest in historic commercials or possibly classic cars and all that." "Oh yes, David," Tommy Gardiner said. "I definitely do like classic cars for certain. Shall we shoot some videos of the Hastings, Sprat and Winkle, HCVS, run event, Tommy and David? I asked. Oh yes, Foxy, we're going to follow your lead, Tommy said. Oh, yeah, time to take some videos now. And so we got out our camera recorders and began shooting some videography footage of the very event. Sometimes in a few moments we'd have like some brief interval moments whenever, well, I certainly would have some brief interval moments whenever getting the distractions of seeing the Hastings Miniature Railway Hastings Miniature Railway fleet locomotives rolling by, since Hastings the Rock'n'All the Stade is located quite beside the Hastings Miniature Railway, that is. Sometimes I'd hear a toot toot or a toot 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 toot, beep 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 beep. And once hearing it, I would go as quickly as I could, not next to the railway, but reasonably near, but not dangerously near the railway, to capture some videography footage of the passing Hastings Miniature Railway fleets going by and all that. What an enchanted delight this really is, I said after I shot some footage of the Hastings Miniature Railway, and also that continued throughout the event, and all the time myself and Tommy Gardiner were happily observing the Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS run event of 2024. Before long, the time passed very quickly, and it was time for the historic commercials to leave Hastings Rock'n'All the Stade. Once all the historic commercials had left, myself, David and Tommy were going to have a ride on the Hastings Miniature Railway before having a fish and chips supper, and then once the fish and chips supper was done, we would head back home afterwards. Oh, well, this is it now, Tommy. Time to watch the cars go, I said. Oh, yes, I think you and David know when the conclusion of those kinds of events finish off and all that, Foxy, Tommy said. And so, one by one, as the historic commercials were leaving the Hastings Rock'n'All the Stade stage zone in Hastings, obviously we got out our camera recorders and shot videography footage of the very cars leaving. Oh, the very historic commercials leaving, that is. My mistake. And once they all left, myself, Tommy Gardiner and David Scott all happily walked over to the Hastings Miniature Railway starting zone so that we could happily have a ride on the Hastings Miniature Railway all together. We paid for our tickets, went inside the miniature carriage. I was sat opposite David and Tommy, as Tommy and David were sat next to each other, though Tommy, on the other hand, had to be careful to clamber inside and out of the miniature carriage, as a result of his very tall 6'2" height and of course his large size 13 UK shoe size to go with it. But Tommy got in, but he just had to take things very carefully. But had it been a 7-foot tall individual, they probably wouldn't stand a chance to fit inside the Hastings Miniature Railway miniature carriage. It was a steam train that was to be hauling the passenger service. It went woo, choo 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 choo, and then choo choo. Obviously, myself, David Scott and Tommy Gardiner shot videography footage of us riding on the Hastings Miniature Railway. It got to the other end, and we shot the video of the miniature engine uncoupling before running round and getting coupled up before racing back, or steaming back on its return trip back to the very starting point. And once we got the videography footage of that all shot and done, we all walked to the fish and chip place we were going to eat out at. After a roughly 15-20 minutes walk, we got into the fish and chip eatery where we were intending on eating. We asked if there was a table for 3, and fortunately there was, and we all ordered our fish and chips. Myself, Tommy Gardiner and David Scott all happily enjoyed our fish and chips meal. But once the fish and chips meal was done, it was time to go to Hastings Railway Station to catch our trains. And so we walked to Hastings Railway Station, but first I had to purchase my one-way ticket to Eastbourne Railway Station. But David had fortunately purchased, but he got the bus there all the way long, but he purchased his one-way ticket to Eastbourne. But Tommy, on the other hand, had his return ticket, so he didn't need to purchase a one-way ticket. So once myself and David Scott had purchased our railway tickets, we put our tickets through the ticket machines, and Tommy Gardiner put his return ticket through the ticket barrier before getting onto the platform where our Eastbourne train was going to arrive and depart from. Well, it was myself and David that was going to get the Eastbourne train, but once Tommy's train arrived, we all exchanged our goodbyes to Tommy and said that we would see him again hopefully reasonably soon, and hopefully not too long after the Hastings, Sprat and Winkle HCVS run. And before long, Tommy gave us a wave and walked over to his train on the other side, on the other platform, on the other side of the platform myself and David were on. Well, it was certainly very nice meeting Tommy Gardiner, wasn't it, David? I said. Oh, yeah, no, he's a nice guy, Foxy, yeah. No, I'm pleased you spoke to me about him, and that not only does he watch your videos, but my videos too. Yeah, no, he's a nice guy, and I could see just what interest he possessed in seeing the historic commercials and all that. Yeah, no, I just thought he was a plain fairground organ enthusiast, but no, he seemed to like the historic commercials seen at Hastings, yeah. David said, oh yes, I completely agree, David. Before long, our Eastbourne train arrived, and obviously I shot some videography footage of it arriving into Hastings Railway Station. Myself and David happily boarded the train, and before long it left en route to Eastbourne. Obviously it took its time, because it had to stop at a few other stations, of course, but before long we happily arrived at Eastbourne Railway Station, and once we got out at Eastbourne Railway Station, we walked over to the bus stop to catch the Seaford bus. Oh, no, to catch the 12 bus. And there we boarded it. I purchased my Discovery ticket, and before long the bus left, and before long myself and David were happily riding on the bus, having some fun, inspirational chats about the fun day we'd already had with Tommy Gardiner, our friend. But before long, David had to get off the bus at his requested bus stop, and I gave him a wave as the bus left, and he gave me a wave as the bus left the bus stop he got out at. And then I continued on the 12 to interchange in Brighton before getting the bus to that stops fairly near to my home residency. And I arrived back home and greeted Daphne and Nixie the cats, and got my videography footage on my computer, and obviously had to take into careful consideration, obviously had other videos to upload quite obviously as well, before getting the Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS run event videography footage edited and uploaded quite subsequently. but it was certainly one enchanting day I was extremely happy with, and most certainly was I most elated with the very day, and I was tremendously thankful largely for the wondrous, extraordinary day itself of the Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS Run 2024 event. The end. Well, thanks everybody indeed for watching and taking the time and listening to this story. I am extremely sorry that this is not a continuation of learning steam railway history with Foxy, but it will certainly come indeed, I can tell you that. It will either be in episode 83, but if not episode 83, episode 84 instead. And the Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS Run 2024 event takes place in October of 2024 at the Hastings Rock and All the Stade. And, but this was a daydream I had, and obviously though it was a daydream, I'm certainly not saying this will definitely happen, that myself and David will end up encountering Tommy Gardiner at Hastings Sprat and Winkle HCVS Run event, or inviting him over to that event. I'm not saying this will definitely happen. It was just a daydream I had, but it was so enchanting I just had to turn it into a story. If it makes perfect sense what I'm explaining, that is. Thanks everybody indeed for watching this very video, and I shall certainly see you in the very next episode of the Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chat series. Thanks ever so much indeed for watching, and ta-ta another time. From Foxy. Oh.